Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report on Time Warner Cable Channel 14. It is post-WrestleMania. Frank Cossentino and the man they call Meathead not with us this week. However, I am Dameon Nelson. Thank you so much for tuning in. Frank, your first foray into high definition. Yeah. Looking good, looking good.
I didn't shave. I'm all right.
Be that as it may, this is the Pro Wrestling Report television edition, and we're going to talk about WrestleMania 25 just this past Sunday, live on pay-per-view. I happen to be fortunate enough to be in Reliance Stadium for WrestleMania 25, my 7th WrestleMania, Frank. And this show, at least from a live perspective, was excellent. Frank, you were able to watch it on pay-per-view. We're going to talk about it match by match. This is a follow-up to the wrap-up that we did actually from Reliance Stadium with the first time Bill and Doug also joining me on air on PWR TV. So let's talk about it, Frank, from your perspective. What we didn't see was the dark match, and I was surprised the title match ended up being the dark match, especially since it was indicated as being part of the overall card for the pay-per-view audience. But that was the Carlito and Primo versus Miz and Morrison for the unification of the tag team championships. This is a pretty substantial matchup as they meld those two titles together, essentially getting rid of the WCW championships, which is where the tag team titles, the world tag team titles, evolve from. Good match. Solid match overall. I know you guys haven't had a chance to see it yet, but a very good match. I've always been impressed with Miz and Morrison. Carlito and Primo actually doing a fantastic job in that matchup as well. Solid match. I'm sure it will make the DVD, so be sure to check that out when it becomes available.
Well, they used to call it the free-for-all.
Correct.
At one point. So I don't understand how it really wasn't part of the show. But it was solid if you were able to watch it. Miz and Morrison, that's your legitimate tag team.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know that at some point one of them would want to go to a singles, but at this point, run with it. Those two guys are solid in the ring.
Unfortunately, no longer the tag champions as the Colognes walk out as the unified World Wrestling Entertainment Tag Team Champions. And then WrestleMania, the broadcast edition, opens up with Money in the Bank. A match where two men really shined in that matchup. One we expected, the other we hoped for. The expected one being Shelton Benjamin, and the one that we had hoped for was Kofi Kingston. Amazing spots in that matchup that saw CM Punk win it for a second year in a row, Money in the Bank ladder match.
I was surprised by that, for CM Punk to win this thing. But once again, and I don't know what happens to Shelton Benjamin after WrestleMania, but the guy...
He becomes the silver standard.
Yeah, it's just... He was amazing, and that one spot was amazing. I know they've had to practice that one a few times, because the height with that being on top of that ladder...
And the risk. I mean, just imagine being up there.
Exactly.
And to just do a suicide dive, basically, hoping the other 7 men do their part and catch him correctly. But simply amazing athleticism in that matchup. And I was very surprised to see CM Punk win it because I thought it could have been Christian's match. Christian very over in that matchup, actually getting the largest crowd reaction being live in the arena during the introductions.
I was totally surprised by that. Obviously, it was a pro Christian crowd, I guess, at that match.
Houston's not the Bible Belt, is it?
No, it's not. There must have been a lot of Canadians there. But
I actually met some Canadian viewers of the show from Victoria, British Columbia.
It was solid. As I thought it would be the first official match of the evening. I think that should be the standard because of the amount of spots. And the only thing that, setting up the ladders a certain way to have spots happen, it seems to be just a little bit too contrived. Well, it's okay. We'll hold this ladder. We'll put this one in the middle of everything, and then we'll kind of wait a few minutes. So you're okay. Now we're waiting for something to happen here. So,
but they usually are good with setting it up, going to some other spots, and then coming back to those ladders that were set up.
Right. But it was solid, and I was shocked by it. I really thought it was Christian's.
Speaking of ladders being set up, I can't tell you how big of a pop the crowd in Houston gave when Shelton Benjamin did climb to the top of that ladder. Everyone stood to their feet, climbing with him in anticipation of what he would do this time. Thus leading to your point, Frank, about how Shelton Benjamin is the man in Money in the Bank ladder matches, even though he was not part of the match last year. But Kofi Kingston, early on, he was the star in this match.
Oh, yeah, and I thought he legitimately got hurt. That one move, again, every time I watch a ladder match or Money in the Bank, I'm looking for something that's a little bit different and a little bit innovative. I think that was the first time I've ever seen him run up a ladder with, I think it was Mark Henry that was holding the ladder up. He literally runs up that thing. Yeah. That's skill.
Yeah.
Now, granted,
Kofi's a great athlete, by the way.
He is.
Kofi or Coffee. I've found out a lot of people call him Coffee. It's clearly Kofi.
Well, it depends. If you're from New York, you call him Coffee.
Forget about it. So CM Punk, Money in the Bank, ladder match winner. Frank, where do you see it going? Is he going to cash it in and become champion again, do you think? Because it did lead to a world championship title run for CM Punk last year. Yeah. Unexpectedly so on a Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, it would be foolish not to give him a title run at some point. Now, however they're going to work out, and we'll talk about this in the weeks coming with the draft, depending on if it's going to be a SmackDown and Raw or whatever the situation is. But it would only make sense, in my opinion, for him to get some type of title run. It was short-lived last time. For him to just get a match and not win it is, I don't know, wouldn't make sense.
Yeah. Every Money in the Bank opportunity has turned into a title run, I believe. So right. This probably will be no different. But then from there we see what I thought was an outstanding performance by Kid Rock, especially given the fact that just when it started to go a little long, he hops into So Hot, and out come all 25 Divas, the participants in the 25 Diva Battle Royal, which, quite frankly, Frank, was won by a man, but didn't even pay tribute to those who had returned to be a part of the matchup. Tori Wilson, Sonny, names of the such. And maybe that was done not to draw attention to the fact that Santino was in the whole match. But it was almost like the commentary team, which was Jim Ross, Michael Cole, and Jerry Lawler, was a little lost as to who was actually in the match. And I think really that diminished the on-air presentation of the matchup. But live, it was a fun, quick Battle Royal. And Santino winning, I tell you, the dancing he did after that match, Houston popped. Houston popped because he is just a goof.
The dancing saved this for me from being a 0 to a 1. It was awful. It was an awful Divas match. I was just... And the Kid Rock thing, if you're a fan of his, you were happy.
I like the Kid Rock.
If they didn't have... It didn't fit. For 10 minutes, like, all right, where are they going with this? You don't
It's Kid Rock, Frank. Yeah. It's WrestleMania. Yeah, but it's where rock concert meets wrestling.
Yeah, but not there. Not after a first match, in my
opinion. It was oddly placed after the first match, yeah.
That maybe in the middle, I don't know. But it did make sense of it. Okay, here come the Divas.
That was your payoff.
Right. But then you don't announce the Divas. So it was like, wait a minute.
And then Justin Roberts actually announcing the fact that the match is happening as the match had already begun.
And I know you're a big Jim Ross fan, obviously. And okay, we're not stupid. It's Santino Marella. Just announce it. Who could that be? Who could that be?
Well, it was Lawler who first speculated as to there was a diva in the ring he didn't recognize.
Right.
And then they sort of danced around it for quite a while until the
just
final.
Announce it. We're not idiots. I didn't like the match. They should have announced the Divas because, in my opinion, they should have.
I thought Kid Rock was amazing. I spoke to Meathead, who said he thought it was not as good a performance as he could have been. What were the glasses? He asked about it. I took offense because both of us wear glasses. Yeah, There's nothing wrong with that. However, he was wearing the military issue birth control glasses. It seemed.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. It was really. Kid Rock. Maybe he's not a big a name as I think he is.
I think he still is, but I didn't care for it too much.
The next match was Chris Jericho versus Jimmy Superfly Snuka, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and Rowdy Roddy Piper. Ric Flair in the corner of those three men, and sitting at ringside is Mickey Rourke. Obviously, Jericho won the match, but what was not going to be so obvious was Ricky the Dragon Steamboat showing all the fans who may not have had the opportunity to see him wrestle why he is a Hall of Famer. He brought it, Frank, to that matchup, and brought it more so than anyone could have ever expected. That was the buzz of the night. So far, anyways, was Steamboat's performance in that matchup that Jericho won, and then Jericho got knocked out by Mickey Rourke. Knocked out.
Right. That match it was brutal if it wasn't for Ricky Steamboat.
Yeah.
He was awesome. And I think the moment that whether it was months ago when they were deciding, okay, we're going to do this, I think Ricky said, all right, I'm going to loosen up these bones here and get going. He was awesome.
He was in great shape.
He's in great shape.
He did his signature moves.
Go. Now, granted, he's not going to be doing anything anytime soon, but if if he ever said, you know what, I could go one more, it could be done. He was awesome. The rest of the match was terrible, in my opinion. The whole Mickey Rourke thing was just stupid. And
you know what I was hoping for, though? When a radio caller speculated on the 540 ESPN radio show a couple of weeks ago, the Austin run-in and save. Didn't go to that level, but we'll talk about how we did see Stone Cold Steve Austin later on. But that matchup, Chris Jericho goes out on top. It was much better than expected, Frank. This one, you got a 64-year-old Snuka, you got a 54 and 55-year-old Piper and Steamboat, respectively, a 60-year-old Ric Flair. This was the geriatric match for sure. Right. But again, it was the 25th anniversary of WrestleMania, and you had 4 men who were pivotal parts of several different WrestleManias. Right. Jimmy Snuka's a bit of a stretch, but anyways, participated. That really made this special. And Snuka, obviously the worst of the bunch, but the oldest as well. And again, much better than expected. Following that, we had the Extreme Rules match between Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy. This one was all over the place. A surprising victory by Matt Hardy. Yeah. What a twist of fate in a chair on Jeff Hardy. It
was a good match. It wasn't great. It was good.
Better than their Armageddon 2005 or whatever year it was.
A few years ago.
Outing.
The outcome I was a little surprised in. I didn't think Matt was going to win this thing. But the amount of high spots. You give the guys credit for putting their bodies on the line once again.
And you expect it out of Jeff. And not enough people realize Matt Hardy gives you as much.
Right. But it was good. It wasn't great. It was good. I enjoyed it from the spots itself. The surprise ending wasn't a surprise ending. I mean, someone's going to win this thing.
I could watch that twist of fate over and over and over again.
Yeah. You're twisted that way.
The Intercontinental Championship, Rey Mysterio trying to take the title from JBL. JBL promised to make WrestleMania 25 a historic night. Little did we know it would mean his retirement from professional wrestling, folks. JBL losing in record time to Rey Mysterio, as I like to call him, or Santino likes to call him. Rey Mysterio, the new Intercontinental Champion. JBL, in shock, gets up, says a few words, and finally ends it with, "I quit." Drops the mic and walks out. Folks, this is real. JBL done with WWE. He has quit again professional wrestling. Remember what we told you a couple of weeks back right here on this very program. JBL, owner of Ohio Valley Wrestling, potentially getting involved in some mixed martial arts business as well. He's got his sport drinks as well. So JBL pursuing those business opportunities and is done with World Wrestling Entertainment, normally replacing a departed Taz in the commentary position on SmackDown. He has addressed all of those rumors, and this one is a little bit surprising, Frank, because I did not expect the wrestling god to walk out of WWE. Now, of course, this wasn't a surprise to the organization, but he did promise something historic, and he made it to WrestleMania 25 and walked out.
He did, and Rey Mysterio with the Doink mask, it was kind of...
No, he was the Joker, Frank. Heath Ledger.
He looked like Doink.
There was someone in the crowd dressed like the Joker.
Really?
Heath Ledger Joker, yeah.
It was weird. I was kind of like, what? It just didn't... It makes sense after it was done. Okay, I quit, but to have it matched like that...
but
it fits. It makes sense. But at first, I'm kind of watching. I'm like, what the heck?
Here's what you're not supposed to think about exactly. It's WrestleMania. It's an Intercontinental Championship match. First one in a long time on a WrestleMania card. JBL promises something historic. Rey Mysterio, seemingly not with a chance with all the wins he had been getting over JBL over the last couple of weeks, including the one-on-one match last week on Raw, which was a non-title match.
Right.
So again, why buy WrestleMania if you're going to get it for free on Raw the week before, which was a bit odd. But this was not the direction that I expected it to go. But JBL proving how great he is, working the stick all the way down to the ring, and then afterwards, I quit, drop the mic, and walk out. That is wrestling.
And I guess I'm going to have to guess that was the way he wanted it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they gave him creative control at that point to make that decision and end this match that way. And I think he'll be back eventually doing something on TV. Maybe not right away, but...
I think he's done. He's been somewhat a man of his word. I mean, he did retire and then come back due to those his back injuries, and he had felt better.
He's not a spring chicken either. He's
at all. But he's a smart man, and it's smarter
absolutely.
At this point for him to get involved in his business ventures a little more actively than to be a performer with World Wrestling Entertainment. Because quite frankly, since his return, with the epic return that he had on Raw one night, it's been all downhill since then, really, pretty much. We go now into our three main events. And and I say 3 main events even though it was billed as 2, but one of the most anticipated matches was certainly The Streak versus Mr. WrestleMania. The Undertaker versus the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. And I will tell you, being there live in the Reliance Stadium for this matchup, this was the most emotionally attached match of the night as far as the fans go. This match delivered something that, quite frankly, we have not seen in a very long time. This match delivered not only a match of the year candidate, even though it's early in the year, but a match of the decade candidate as well, Frank.
Absolutely. This match itself, it was kind of like a symphony. You start at the beginning, you're waiting, and then there's a crescendo. Now, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, there's just no way that Taker's going to lose this thing.
But
it gave you that instinct for a second,
exactly.
and I know that you're out there saying, no way, it wasn't going to happen. But I know the majority of you are like,
I knew it all along after
right,
the event.
Right. I'm going to be honest. For a second, I'm like, really? Are they really going to do that? I was really emotionally into this thing, edge of my seat. It's been a long time since I've done that. And I'm putting this as one of the top 10 matches of all time.
All time.
Of all time.
All time.
Yeah. Yeah. Just the ending, just the facial expressions from The Undertaker. And Shawn Michaels himself, he cemented, in my opinion, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. He's able to do that. He's able to bring it could be anybody. And the Undertaker's got a good 6 inches on him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, okay, how is this going to work? You're going to see a tombstone. You're going to see some spots and all that. Amazing. And I would love to see, if possible, what those two guys did once the curtain, closed. Because if they didn't give each other a great big high five or that was dynamite.
Yeah.
It was dynamite. It was awesome.
Locker room sellout, perhaps.
Yeah. If even the wrestlers in the back, if they didn't come out and do it that was awesome, guys. That is WrestleMania.
As I said in the PWR Mobile updates, that match was amazing, and both men deserve accolades. Jim Ross has said after the event that it was the best match he recalls ever calling and doing commentary for. I've not seen it yet on broadcast, but being there live, I tell you, this match had every one of those 72,744 people on the edge of their seats, and in the palm of their hand is where Undertaker and Shawn Michaels had this. Now keep in mind, 2 40-plus-year-old men. So I don't want to hear, because people are going to forget that point, obviously. I don't want to hear about all these over-the-hill wrestlers and how they can't bring it anymore. Mm-hmm. We've talked about 3 now. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels. In this night at WrestleMania 25, those 3 men are the standout performers of WrestleMania 25.
Yeah, and the one spot with Undertaker going over the top rope and hitting the cameraman.
Cameraman.
Right.
And almost breaking his damn neck.
Exactly. And for a second I'm like, oh no, he's ruined this match. I really thought he was going to get hit. But solid. And after that match, I'm thinking, okay, I just witnessed one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. How in the world do you do that again?
You rewind to WrestleMania 18, the Sky Dome, Hogan Rock. Who remembers the other 2 matches that followed that? It was a Divas Championship, a Women's Championship match, and then it was Jericho, Triple H in the main event. And again, Triple H would get taken on this evening, WrestleMania 25.
But think about this, Dameon. What other wrestler left on this roster, when you go to and I'm assuming that Undertaker will be there for number 26, unless there's a career-ending injury. What other wrestler could there be that could put you on the edge of your seat at that point? He's done Triple H, he's done Batista, he's done Shawn Michaels now. He's
a great point. You could have a feud with Orton, potentially, I'm not sure. But keep in mind, remember though, think of the Undertaker Brock Lesnar series of 2003. Think of the Undertaker Big Boss Man series. Think of all these people that the Undertaker works with and makes them. The Undertaker is the Ric Flair of nowadays. Remember, Ric Flair would step into the ring, and he could be in the ring with crap, such as Lex Luger, and still make it a great match.
Right. I'm curious, because I always thought, and I said this 2 years ago, that Undertaker would end at 25, or end at WrestleMania 25. Whether that happens or not, who knows? If it does, he's gone out on a high note, as high as it could be. But after looking at that roster, I'm thinking, there's no other wrestler right now, that
can bring it as such.
no.
From there, we go on to the match for the World Heavyweight Championship. Vicky Guerrero back in a wheelchair, and she is at ringside as Edge defends the title against John Cena and the Big Show in a three-way dance. John Cena walking out the new World Heavyweight Champion after his Eminem-style entrance with about 150 John Cena's. Very well done. That's what's great about WrestleMania is you always get something special, something a little extra. They put everything they have into the show. The scope and scale of the event is difficult to relay in words, not being there live. I mean, the mere set itself is the size of an office building. You think of a football stadium, and you think of how big that WrestleMania 25 emblem alone was. I mean, it was massive. And the sheer scope and production leading into this match as well, very big, very well done. John Cena wins after, Frank, as you talked about, that big FU on two men. Granted, Big Show, he's done it before, but to have Edge's weight on top of it as well. And granted, Edge dropped off, but it was two FUs, one to the Big Show first, then to Edge on top of the Big Show to make John Cena the new World Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah, and who's kidding who? I mean, I've said this 100 times over, but I think Cena's finisher is terrible. But I'm going to give this guy all the credit in the world to have the Big Show on your back. And then, granted, it was a good 2 or 3 seconds of Edge.
And he's shaking, is Cena, under their weight. And how could you not expect him to?
So that was solid. I give it up for Cena for putting that all in. I thought the match itself was okay, nothing great. I liked the old Andre the Giant, I'm stuck in the ropes kind of thing, and he's like, ref!
All we needed was Jake the Snake and Dameon.
Exactly. But it was okay. Give it up to Cena, though. I mean, I know there's a lot of haters out there. I'm not a hater. I just hate his finish.
Well, as I said, and the wrap-up with Bill and Doug is John Cena deserves respect. And that's the thing. You can disagree, but you can do so respectfully. And, for those that hate, and there are far fewer than there were, but for those who hate, I mean, John Cena delivers, and no matter what you think or what you say, he continues to deliver under the adverse circumstances that a lot of fans put him under. The main event, Frank, was for the WWE Championship. This match had so much potential going into it, but didn't quite deliver. It was Triple H versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. I felt that this was Randy Orton's night. This was the night that Randy Orton should walk out of WrestleMania on top of the business. However, it was Triple H after a pedigree just near the top of the hour to end the show, and walks out still the WWE champion. Disappointing from this standpoint.
Yeah, I agree. This was WWE's opportunity to make a monster heel even more of a monster after it and having him win. However, and you can correct me, I can't remember the last WrestleMania where you didn't leave the fans home happy.
I think Orton would have left him happy, though. I don't think Orton has hate. I think Orton is similar in character to Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, because you've hated the McMahons, so he beats up the McMahons. I'm watching the clock, and I shouldn't have done it.
It's like a Star Trek episode, The New Generation. They can seemingly wrap up the whole story in the last 2 minutes of the show.
And you kind of knew, like, oh no, they're going to have to wrap this up in the next 2 minutes. They cannot go past 10 o'clock. And I think there's money reasons for that, because I think they buy that time slot, however. But I swing and a miss at this WrestleMania and McMahon family. You had an opportunity to make Randy Orton one of the monster heels of all time. Now, granted, who knows what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. But to have Triple H winning, Triple H hasn't really won at WrestleMania a lot. So give him credit for that. But it was kind of like, okay, I'm going to finish it here and make it a clean one. No. It blew it for me, and I was disappointed.
Overall, from my standpoint, WrestleMania 25 was a solid show, a very well-received show, doing a little bit of fan surveying after the event. Stone Cold Steve Austin never saying a word, but showing how great he is with his little tribute after the Hall of Famers were inducted. The Fink being represented again, doing the intro of the national anthem being sang by a member of the Pussycat Dolls. Overall, this was WrestleMania live. The broadcast, however, doesn't appear to have had the same impact, and I've yet to see the entire broadcast, so I can't talk about that. I can tell you from a live event perspective, this, of the 7 WrestleManias I've been to, is certainly one of the tops as far as overall card goes. We didn't see a lot of backstage stuff, if anything. We didn't see a lot of wasted time. Some would argue Kid Rock may have been that. but this was a solid 4-hour WrestleMania. And as I said before, it started to feel a little long at times, but at the end of the night, you said, this was worth it. This was worth the trip. I talked to a fan from South Dakota who came down and said this was worth it. Talked to a fan from Ohio who came down and said this was worth it. And that is truly what WWE needs to deliver, and they will have the opportunity to do so again in Phoenix, Arizona next year. So thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report. We'll be back at you again next week with an all-new episode, and make sure you tune in Monday night. In the meantime and in between time on 540 ESPN, stream live at pwrshow.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.